My name is Nai, and this is my 6th ever video, and I've upped the production quality. I'm going all out, because this is the ultimate buff Jezail video. I'm going to divide this video into 4 parts, since I'm not only talking about buffing Jezail, but also about the Blunderbuss's balance, and why the doppelt should be nerfed. Then, near the ending, there's a little extra section with some small suggestions that weren't fully thought out, but seem cool in my head. The Blunderbuss is a very good example of a balanced weapon, and even as a non-blunder user, I recognize that. Every time I die to one, I made a mistake during the fight. Every Blunderbuss fires multiple shots in a large spread. It's a shotgun. This gun is meant for close range, and it's a beast from the right distance, requiring only 4 balls to hit for both the Blunderbuss and Espingol to score a one-tap. This is a side grade to regular rifles, giving up your range for raw power. With a rifle, you have a ton of versatility, because you can shoot from far, and you can shoot from up close, dealing the same consistent damage every time as long as you hit your shots. With the Blunder on the other hand, you lose almost all of that long range capability, since from around this distance away, you can consistently get one-taps, and from further, it becomes a slightly bit better than a Charleston, with you still hitting a few pellets and being able to dish out plenty of damage, as well as it being easier to hit targets. Since the Blunder fires in a spread, you don't need to be fully accurate to hit your target. Past a certain range though, you can't hit anything, and that's a big downside. Range combat is pretty much half of all Northwind encounters, so you have to think completely different about how you position yourself and how you take fights. It's a different playstyle. The other smaller downside of the Blunder is that it has a 15-second reload, which makes it slightly more difficult to get multiple one-taps and also to recover from a miss. But if you miss a Blunder shot from close range, you probably don't deserve to win the fight anyways. This gun is not better than the rifles. It's just more situational. Even though you can make more impact with a Blunder in some scenarios, it is still not a direct upgrade. It's a huge trade-off, and that makes it about equal to your average Baron or Tradesman. Oh, and there's a silly little gun which has a similar concept, but throws every downside out the window and only keeps the upsides. And that gun is the one and only... Playing with doppelt is like playing Blunder Snipe Simulator, because that's all this weapon is. A Blunder Sniper. I mean seriously, what kind of hard drugs were the developers using when they made this weapon? It goes against every balance principle ever. You could run this gun solo, without a pistol or melee, and still win a 1v3 against experienced players. It's ridiculous. This is the most no-skill crutch overpowered weapon I've ever used. And yeah, I use it, because it's overpowered as hell. This thing reloads 2 seconds faster than a Blunder, and can one-tap from 5 times the distance, with it being able to head pop from the range that a Blunder can one-tap normally. Not to mention that even from a range greater than its accuracy, the chance of you hitting at least 1 bullet, which is still 50 damage, is pretty high. This monstrosity is like 2 Charlestons taped together side by side. So what am I going to do to try and fix this? Well, we could lower the accuracy and increase the reload speed, but then it's just a glorified Blunder, and you can get those for a few pounds. So these are my suggestions. Decrease the damage to 44.5 per bullet, and increase the reload to 17 seconds. Why? Well, 44.5 damage per pellet is pretty solid, making 89 if both shots hit. However, if both shots hits the head, it's a head pop, which is very impactful. Head pops are probably the most game-changing thing we've gotten for Northwind, so that's why it would have such a long reload. It's just 3 seconds more than the Blunder to justify the fact that it head pops from the range Blunder one-taps. And also because it can deal significant damage past that range. Also because if one pellet hits the head and the other hits the body, it's 97 damage, which means that the person shot will have 1 second to heal before certain death due to bleeding. That's better than if it were 45 damage, because then they would bleed out in 2 seconds, giving no chance whatsoever for the person who got shot. I believe these changes are the best possible. Not only do they make the weapon be more fair and take actual skill, but they introduce a never before seen playstyle into the mix. A sort of hybrid rifle and blunder amalgamation that makes sense to be in the game, and it would honestly be very fun to use. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Isn't it fair that I would get a busted weapon? I grinded 8 hours a day for 3 days to get this weapon. I deserve an overpowered weapon. You are ruining the game for me. Why would I ever grind for anything if it's bad? Well, grinding to get better weapons in PvP scenarios just isn't a good thing for any game. Imagine if in Counter-Strike you could grind for 100 hours to get an automatic rifle that one-shots on body. That would be very, very bad, since that game has a competitive community and people actually care about the game. And they care about getting better at it. Introducing such a gun would ruin the game completely. Imagine if in Call of Duty... Oh, wait, no. Battle example, hold on. Imagine if in Phantom Forces, the guns you got at level 0 were overshadowed by later guns. Sure, you could argue that they are better, but the starter rifles, SMGs, snipers, shotguns, DMRs, pistols, etc. are all amazing guns. You could run around with just these and still win, because they are the foundations of their respective weapon classes. And as you play, you unlock new guns, which might be slightly different or completely new playstyles. Let's take a look at the Intervention. This is arguably the best sniper rifle in the game, and you can play with it the second you join for the first time. However, a later weapon, called the SVU, is a completely different sniper, having its own distinct style of playing. That being a hyper-aggressive medium-range one-tap sniper, not being better or worse, just different. Let's look at TF2. At the beginning of your journey, you have access to only the 9 classes and their stock loadouts. But the more you play, you unlock different weapons, which can change how you play slightly, or make you feel like you unlock the 10th class. For example, the stock rocket launcher for Soldier. This weapon relies heavily on splash damage, since the speed that the rockets travel at is not high enough to land rockets directly on your enemies all the time. But a weapon that you unlock later, called a direct hit, reduces your splash damage radius to the point that it's no longer viable to go for splash damage. Instead, it receives a significant buff to the speed of its rockets and extra damage. In theory, if you land every single rocket with the direct hit, it is better than stock due to the higher damage. But in reality, it's very punishing to use, and in several situations, the safety of always dealing damage if you hit around your target is more valuable than the extra 25% damage you deal. These variations in the ways you can approach a game are excellent for its longevity. However, if one way to play is better than all the others, then why bother playing differently? This creates the issue of making the game stale, because the meta is clear and unrivaled, with there being no room for experimentation. However, if you make every weapon fair, with every playstyle having its place in the meta, the game becomes good, and people keep playing it. These long hours of combat and fun these players experience far exceeds the short-term burst of high player activity you get once a new grinding weapon is released.
Ow.
Oh, I didn't see you! I didn't see you at all!
Also keep in mind that I wrote the script before the new developers arrived. I'm sure they understand this concept without me having to explain it to them like they are a child. But I don't want to change the script because it makes for a better video. So, the Blunder is a close-range one-tap menace. The Doppelt is a rifle-blunder hybrid that causes slight head injuries. And the Jezail...
Sniping's a good job, mate. It's challenging work, out of doors. I guarantee you'll not go hungry. Because at the end of the day, long as there's two people left on the planet, someone is going to want someone dead.
Ah, Jezail. Jezail, Jezail, Jezail. Finally at this part of the video. Now, I have to say, when I made those first videos, I was still grief-stricken and a bit desperate to get my beloved one-taps back. And someone who is that obsessed doesn't really have much of a brain to think fully rationally. While I still think my early ideas would solve the issue, they're simply too extreme. But now, the concept has developed, and even though some members of the community might disagree, developed things are always better. This is, after all, the ultimate Buff Jezail video, isn't it? Right, let's get started. The idea of the Jezail, in the beginning, before head popping, was fully fair, if not for some damage issues. However, after head popping, I have to admit that it was slightly better than rifles in medium range combat. Still, not fully overpowered, which is why I believe that removing head popping from Jezail would make the balancing much easier, returning it to a previous state where it was fair. Here's my proposition. 85 damage, so that a headshot could be 102, 20 to 22 second reload, maybe return it to 100% accuracy? If you think about it, long range kills don't really matter if they aren't head pops, because the person can just be revived. But they could matter if they are right in the open. It sure as hell would be nice to be able to do consistently, because it takes quite a bit of skill to headshot someone across the map. You don't even have to make it like the old 100% accurate Jezail. It could be, for example, Tane accuracy. Though I certainly wouldn't complain if the devs simply kept the current accuracy as is. This makes it a high risk, high reward more risky, weapon, and a little bit less rewarding. The body damage is so headshot one taps are achievable, and the reload is to punish missing as well as hitting body shots. The extra 2 seconds I added were because if you were to run a loadout, say with a Reed and a Holstein, the reloads of those weapons combined would be 20 seconds. So if Jezail were 22 seconds, it wouldn't be much of a difference to the user, since it's a similar amount of time to old Jezail. However, it would make the lives of the enemy a bit easier. But thinking about it again now, I realize that this extra time isn't really needed, because amazing loadouts such as Calvet and Holstein, which would equal about 17 seconds of reloading, exist. More people should use that loadout, honestly. And the no head popping would make it so you can't get wiped out of existence by simply getting shot once from relatively far away. This would make the weapon impactful, but not as impactful as any other single ball firing guns. Because yeah, getting a kill with a single bullet is a big advantage, especially since you keep your pistol loaded. However, if you use any other gun, you could have gotten a head pop, which is far more devastating than a one tap, making both choices equally viable. Reintroducing this playstyle would be great, because of what I mentioned previously about the game's longevity and whatnot. I truly believe this is the ultimate way to balance Jezail. So, the Blunderbuss is a close-range one-tapper, the Doppelt is a close-range head popper that is capable up to medium range, however for long reload, and the Jezail is the medium to long-range one-shot weapon that has an even more punishing reload. The one-tap trifecta. Last part of the video, folks. These are some cool suggestions that don't really have a big reason to be included other than being cool. What if Jezail pierced targets? I mean, could be a good in-lore explanation for why it doesn't head pop, because it's so powerful it over-penetrates, buffing Saber back to having 5 hits. This one is a real suggestion. Actually, why would you nerf the Saber and Cutlass while keeping the Masterwork intact? This also ties in with the grinding stuff I said earlier. It's just not fair, so please give us a hit back. And maybe, just maybe, bring back old Pike meta? That would be great, but I doubt it would happen. Oh, and the Tanegashima. You could just make it be a Jezail reskin with maybe 5 extra damage or 1 second left of reloading. But if it's gonna be obtainable, that would not be ideal, so I think if it became a sniper type weapon, that would be cool. 14-second reload, really fast bullet speed, not a lot of bullet drop. You can put a scope on it, that would be cool. Deals 80 to the body, 96 to the head, which could be a little too much damage. I don't really know if this would be a great way to balance it. I think it should be a Jezail reskin if it stays an exclusive weapon. I hope you enjoyed the video. My name is Nai. Bye bye. You should buff Jezail now!
I'm gonna say when
One.
to jump out.
What the fuck, Jezail?
Oh my god.
I love Tanner.
Oh.
3, 2, 1. Jump.
I shot.
Oh my god.
Bro,
shot-
are you actually dumb? Okay, I fucking
Okay,
missed.
well. Bro, I'm standing.
More. Oh, like we were meant to follow up. Yeah, we were meant to follow up. Snake just got out the hole.
Bro, he's lying. I'm so bad. I am so
Get a
trash.
read.
What?
Okay.
That was like perfect. What the fuck is Tane? I did.
I already hit him.
Yeah, me too.
How
You
many
can't hit a
shots
freaking
are you gonna
deer?
miss?
Thank you.
Hit a deer. It's not that hard.
My first
Yeah.
year.
Oh.
Bro, kill! Hit! Guys!
Pop, 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 pop.
No.
Yo,
Oh.
miss.
Really? How do you miss?
Hi, my name is
Will
Nine.
be
And I have a white set, but I have the black thing. The black